Hi guys, welcome to my first ever plush sewing tutorial thing. It's my first ever plush tutorial sewing thingy, so I'm a bit nervous, I might make a few mistakes, but I'll try my best to get this right. My tripod isn't working at the moment, so you're going to have to put up with me holding the camera. I apologise. I will have to get a new tripod or fix this one soon for my next videos. Today's tutorial is for Celestia's eyes and plush eyes in general really. This is a general tutorial. I'm using Celestia as she's a plush I've been working on recently and I'm partway through finishing, so I thought she'd be the best one to use. Okay, firstly this tutorial is for sewers or not sewers of any description, any skill type. It's very simple, easy to do, and you don't have to have drawing skills to make the pattern. So it's win-win really. Okay, so firstly I'm going to go through a list of things you will need to make a pony plush eye or plush eye of any description. Firstly, you'll need the fabric you're going to use. So I haven't got some out because I'm a derp and forgot. So I've used Minky for this plush eye. So you could have scraps of Minky or whichever fabric you're going to use. Just make sure you've got enough fabric and some spare in case you make mistakes, because if you're working with black fabric, it's very easy to make a mistake. You also need some scissors and fabric scissors if you have them, but normal scissors also work fine because you're going to be cutting paper and fabric. I use my fabric scissors for paper and fabric, which I really shouldn't do because you should only use fabric scissors on fabric apparently because it can blunt the blade. Some paper, preferably paper in which you can actually see picture through on your screen, pen or pencil or whatever you want to use to draw on paper with, and your plush pattern, the head from the pattern you've used to make your plush pony. So pretty. And that's it. Oh, and also the internet. Yes, we love the internet, don't we? Okay, just to credit the creator here of this beautiful picture of Celestia's eye, Datnaro on DeviantArt, I will leave a link in the description below. I use their eye vectors to help me with in terms of making my plush eyes. I used to use their eye vectors for my printed off what they call iron-on transfer eyes. So now I'll be using their transfers again, well, their vectors again, but not for transfers, but for plush eyes. Sorry if I do ramble a bit. So that's all you need really. So let's get started. Firstly, you're going to need a picture of the pony's eye. So you can either search on DeviantArt eye vector for whichever pony it is you're doing, or you can do it on Google. I use Datnaro's DeviantArt because they have a lot of eye vectors and some with different expressions too, which are really cool. So I highly recommend this vector maker. Sorry, you can see my camera light in the laptop screen. Once you've got your eye vector, you want it to fit your plush pattern. Obviously that's too big. Now there's two ways you can do this, so I'm going to show you the two different methods so that you can choose whichever one's easier for you. So first method would be to go onto your laptop and alter the zoom to make it the correct size. So I'm going to make zoom smaller and use my head pattern as reference. Once you've got the pattern to the right size and you're ready to trace it onto your paper. Now if you can't do the zoom thing, or you don't have that option on your computer, or it just doesn't work for you, there is another method you can use. You can right click on the image, click on copy image, then go and open Word. If you open Word, right click and paste if I can find it. Oregon is there. If I can find it, I don't use Word very much, I'm afraid. paste. This should be it. There we go. You will have the eye vector on your screen. Make sure you put it down to 100%. Then you can just click on the image and use the tool to resize it again until you get to the size you want. Obviously that might be a little bit too big, but you get the point. Until you get to the size you want for your plush. So I'll make it a bit smaller. So once you've got your eye vector to the right size, you're going to need your piece of paper. So if you have trouble with holding it up to the screen and then using your other hand to trace it, you can always push your laptop screen back slightly. Just be careful when you're tracing that you don't put too much pressure on the screen because you could break it. Obviously I can't really trace mine at the moment because I only have one hand, but essentially hold it up with one hand, trace the whole eye, and once you've done that, I've got one like on Blue Peter I made earlier. So this is my traced eye. It's a little bit smaller. Oh, that's close. My traced eye I use for the plush. Also I recommend tracing these pieces, the small pieces, separately as well, because it saves you from cutting up this main pattern. So I've also, if I can pick them up, cut out this piece, white piece. I just retraced them. So I put my piece of paper up and retraced the smaller pieces separately, because they're all going to be separate pieces for your pattern, as you can't make the eye in one piece of fabric obviously with the different colours. Going out of focus. I hope you're all with me so far. It's not too complicated, I promise. Okay, I don't have my fabric with me, so I'm going to explain it and use this as an example with these. As you can see, the base of the eye is black, so you can either pin this onto a piece of black fabric, whichever fabric you're using, and then cut around it, or you can draw around it with a pen or a pencil on the black fabric and then cut it out. So you'll need two. So you need one this way and then flip the pattern so you have one that way. Otherwise, if you draw two this way, you'll have two of the same eye, which is just silly. So once you've done that, you've got the base. So you can cut out the white pieces, so the small triangle-y piece that goes in the corner of the eye, and the large oval and the tiny oval. Now you don't have to have a little pattern piece for the small oval, you could just cut one out or a little circle yourself. It wouldn't really make much of a difference if you did. And then of course the coloured piece, so get your coloured bit of fabric and you can draw around it just like with the other pieces and cut them out. So that's what you've got to do to pair the pieces. So just a little thing to go back. Sorry, my words are going funny again. I don't know what to say sometimes. So a little flashback here. Cut out a large black piece for the base. Then you have two white pieces which you draw onto fabric and cut out. And the same with this one, two white pieces. Not white pieces, the pink piece. Please remember to turn the piece over, as so, like this, when drawing the second piece. Otherwise you'll have two of the same pieces in the same direction, so you'll have two eyes going this way instead of one going facing inwards and the other one facing inwards like that. Otherwise you'll have one eye facing this way, and then this eye would be flipped around going facing this way, which would just look weird. So don't forget to do that. Once you have the pieces, as you can see, I've layered them on top of each other. What I did with this particular fabric, because minky fabric will hold on to, well, if you put a piece of minky fabric upon another piece, it should cling on to it a little bit. So this is now pinned on. I know it's not very pretty. What I did with this eye is I placed the base on my desk, and then arranged the pieces as I wanted them. I then lifted up the eyepiece very carefully, led Celestia down, and put the eye on her face as I wanted it, and then pinned on the smaller pieces. In pinning on the smaller pieces, you're holding on the base, so it doesn't matter too much about putting pins in big black base bit. Once you have Celestia's eye pinned on, you can start sewing it. Now you can start sewing around the outside, as I have done with this plush, or you can sew the inside pieces first. I would recommend sewing around the outside first, then doing the inside pieces, because otherwise this piece around the outside will start to move around and maybe go out of place when you're sewing the inside pieces. So do the outside first, then the inside. It's a simple ladder stitch. Just my needle, you just put it under, then up and through. So you put it into the white piece of fabric next to the eye. I'll try and describe it, it's quite difficult when doing it with one hand. Put it into the white piece of fabric, hook it under, and push it back up through the black piece of fabric and pull. And do that all the way around. Another little thing with these eyes, if you want, you can have the eyelashes sticking out a bit. You can have a more 3D effect, as I've done with this plush. All you do is sew around this bit, but not the eyelashes. So just sew around the base of the eyelashes, and not on the actual eyelashes themselves. Also, not to worry if one of the eyelashes gets cut off when you're cutting out the pattern. This happened with this side of the eye. I don't know if you can see this eyelash is a bit out of place. It's still a bit fluffy. All you have to do is place it a little bit underneath the base, put a pin there, then as you're sewing round, keep sewing, going over it as you would the rest of the plush's eye, and it should sew it in securely. If it doesn't, then go around the edges of it and sew it in to make it extra secure, but it should be okay. So once you finish sewing all of those pieces on, your eye's done, really. But don't forget to tie a knot at the end. When tying a knot, go for a loop you've already done, like so. Go for a loop you've already done. Hook the needle through the hole of the thread, and pull, and it should tie a knot. If you tie a few knots, try to tie it underneath the eye if you can, or in a place where you can't see it so well, which is why I'm using white threads, you can't see it as well. And then just snip it. Just make sure not to cut the knot, but to cut it away from the knot. And I forgot to mention, before you start sewing, obviously tie a knot in the end of your thread, otherwise it's just going to go straight through. Why didn't I tell you that? That's just silly. I should have told you that first. So that's my basic tutorial on how to make plush pony eyes. If you have any questions at all, feel free to send me a message or post them, comment them wherever below. And that's it really. It's quite an amateur tutorial, I'm sorry. I've never made a tutorial before. I hope you've enjoyed it and that it'll be helpful for whoever wants to watch this video, whoever wants to make pony eyes. So I hope it's helpful, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'd love to have some feedback. That would be great. Let me know if you like the video, or if you have questions, stuff like that. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.